A very good morning to all our viewers. You've tuned in live for this broadcast on Moneycontrol. You're watching Newspresso with me, Stacy Pereira. And as the drill goes, in the next few minutes, we're going to be giving you a lowdown of all the top stories from across the globe, insights from into India, and also the latest trends that are doing the rounds, giving you that edge and keeping you informed ahead of the others. So let's get straight to it and bring you what we're getting from our global dispatch. Now, the Fitch downgrade has sent indices on Wall Street in a tizzy, worsening that sell-off across the board. Dow Jones has shed over 400 points to dip to the session's low, while the Nasdaq, that one reported its worst day in 5 months, shedding more than 2.3% in trade. The S&P 500 also pulling back about 1.5%. The last time the US got a downgrade from a major rating agency was back in 2011, when the S&P had cut the rating to AA plus from a AAA. Now, the downgrade was immediately criticized by Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and others in Washington, who said that the rating is based on outdated information. Many equity strategists are now suggesting to book profits as the risk of sentiment has resurfaced. Among stocks that were in action, mega cap tech names like Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft were the ones that slumped about 2%, whereas stocks like Advanced Micro Devices or AMD fell about 7% despite better than expected results, whereas Solar Edge Technology, that one tumbled 18% after missing its revenue expectations. And it was a sea of red in across European markets as well. The pan-European stock 600 index closed about 1.35% lower, with all sectors and bourses in the negative territory. Mining and retail stocks were the biggest downward pressures on the index, both down about 2.7%. Now, Germany's DAX as well as UK's FTSE 100 both decline about 1.36%, whereas France's CAC 40, that one dropped down by 1.26%. Investors also continue to digest the earnings which have been coming in, including from BAE Systems as well as Ferrari. Meanwhile, Vodafone shares gained about 2% after it announced that roaming deal with Germany's 1&1 to provide 5G mobile coverage across Germany. But meanwhile, you also have the Bank of England, which will come out with its rate action later today. Asia-Pacific markets are no different. They're extending those losses from yesterday and also getting that horrible handover from Wall Street, really. Asian indices have all opened in the negative. Japan's Nikkei 225 tumbling about 1.03%, leading those losses in the region. Hong Kong's Hang Seng, that index too opening at just about 0.23%. South Korea's Kospi is the one that has fallen, whereas the Kosdaq, that one is just gaining by about 0.33% in early trade. Indices in Australia too have opened about half a percentage point lower. Among the data that investors will be tracking, all eyes will be on the Catson private survey for China's service sector activity of July. That's where investors are going to be placing their eyes on next. On the commodities front, oil prices have settled 2% lower on Wednesday, despite that historic drop in U.S. crude stockpiles. Now, U.S. crude stocks have fallen to a week by about 17 million barrels, the largest drop in U.S. crude inventories since 1982. Brent crude futures have settled down by about $1.71 or nearly 2%, we could say, at hovering around that 83.20 per dollar barrel mark. Now, focus will now shift towards that OPEC Plus meet, where member nations are likely to revise its oil output policy, as well as the panel, which will meet on Friday. And that war really rages on, where Russian drones have now attacked and damaged a port, as well as where the grain storage facility in the south of Ukraine's coastal Odesa region yesterday. Now, the attack was on a Danube port, which leads the costlier global grain prices. Now, this all could lead to costlier global grain prices. Now, Izmail is a key port in the Danube Delta, from where Ukrainian grain is taken to a barge and then to the Romanian Black Sea port of Constanta for shipment onwards. Now, the port across the river from NATO member Romania has in fact served as the main alternative route out of Ukraine for grain exports since Russia reintroduced its de facto blockade of Ukrainian's Black Sea port in mid-July. A quick roundup of all that transpired on Dalal Street. Well, they are following pretty much suit despite pairing some of those losses in trade. We saw the Nifty and Sensex both ending over 1% lower in the red. Now, 43 of the 50 Nifty stocks, in fact, ended lower, with most stocks down about 3% odd. Now, Nifty closed near that 19,500 levels, while we saw the Sensex slipping below that 66,000 peak that we saw. Banks were the underperformers compared to the blue chips, where we saw the index cut about 1.5 percentage point. All sectors, in fact, ended in the red, led by PSU banks, metal as well as auto. In fact, if you look at the BSE companies in total, they erased a market capitalization of about 3 lakh crore rupees in yesterday's trading session alone. And by the end of the 51st GST Council meet, we did hear from Finance Minister Nirmala Sitaraman, who says that she hopes to implement that 28% GST on full face value of online real money gaming, casino as well as horse races. The government hopes to implement this from the 1st of October, and also goes on to add that the tax may be reviewed 6 months after implementation. They've also clarified that the tax will be on the initial payment by the players or their agents and not on the winnings used for subsequent bets. Now, Revenue Secretary has also gone on to say that the bets placed using virtual digital assets will also fall under the GST ambit. Now, remember, it was only on July 11 that the council decided to levy this 28% tax on the full value of the money paid by users on online games in a uniform manner, making no distinction between game of skills versus game of chance.
The council agreed today to come back after 6 months to review the way in which this is getting implemented. When I say 6 months, it's not 6 consecutive months beginning from today. It begins from after when this gets implemented. We are all hopeful that it gets implemented from 1st October. If it is 1st October when it gets implemented, 6 months from then, the council can review the position.
So 1st of October is really that deadline there for these gaming companies. 28% GST going to be levied on them. Moving on then, Taiwanese electronics manufacturing giant, that's Foxconn, has gone ahead and signed a letter of intent, or LOI, with the Karnataka government to invest about 5,000 crores in 2 projects, which will be expected to create about 13,000 odd jobs. Now, Foxconn will be setting up 2 manufacturing projects, one in partnership with US-based Applied Materials to create a semicon equipment manufacturing unit, and the other facility for manufacturing sub-assembly components of smartphones, especially the mechanical enclosure for iPhones. And the locations for the projects are yet to be finalized on, and the company is currently evaluating suitable land parcels in and around Bengaluru. The LOI between Foxconn and Karnataka government is sure to boost investment in the state. And communal tensions have been running high in Haryana after clashes broke out between communities in the New district, and this on Monday during religious procession. Now, 6 people have lost their lives so far, and the flare-up has reached Gurugram as well. Select shops were vandalized and set on fire by a mob in Badshahpur. Now, the Supreme Court has also intervened and has refused to restrict the VHP as well as the Bajrang Dal protest rallies, which were scheduled for Delhi NCR in the aftermath of this no violence. Now, the court, however, has directed the administration to ensure that there is no hate speech against any particular community or acts of violence that take place.
20 कंपनीज पैरामिलिट्री की हमने बुलाई हैं, जिसमें से 14 कंपनीज नू जिले में, 3 कंपनीज पलवल में, 2 गुरुग्राम में और 1 फरीदाबाद में। 4 कंपनीज की डिमांड आज हमने और की है बाहर के स्थानों के लिए। अभी तक 116 लोगों को अरेस्ट किया गया है और 90 इसके अतिरिक्त और डिटेन किए गए हैं। पूछताछ करने के बाद उनके खिलाफ भी कार्रवाई जो बनेगी वो सब की जाएगी।
जो आयोजक थे कल की यात्रा के, हमने भीड़ एस्टिमेशन का प्रॉपर ब्यौरा डिस्ट्रिक्ट प्रशासन को नहीं दिया, कहीं ना कहीं उसकी कमी के कारण ये दुर्घटना कल हुई। हमारे प्रदेश में आज तक के इतिहास में ऐसी घटना नहीं हुई। जिन लोगों ने इस घटना को आगे उकसाकर लड़ने का काम किया, उनके खिलाफ सख्त से सख्त कार्रवाई।
Well, tensions really, they're flaring up, the government trying to put a lid on it. Now, also let's move on to some tragic news rather, where one more cheetah has died at the Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh, making it the 9th feline to die since March. Now, in a statement released by the Forest Department, it said that this morning, one of the female cheetahs, Dhatri or Tilibisi, was found dead. A post-mortem is being conducted to determine the cause of death. Now, there were about 14 cheetahs kept at the enclosure in Kuno, and a team of wildlife veterinarians as well as an ambient expert is regularly monitoring their health. Last month, we heard of 2 cheetahs who died due to an infection in their wounds caused by a radio collar around their necks. However, the Environment Ministry said that all the cheetah deaths so far were due to natural causes. And well, you might have come across Shah Rukh Khan's latest song from the movie Jawan, titled Zinda Banda. And like you and me, Shah Rukh Khan's move has really stunned everyone, and no less than Anand Mahindra as well. Now, he's gone on to share the clip of the song and went on to tweet saying that this hero is 57 years old. Clearly, his aging process defies gravitational forces. He's 100 times as alive as most people. Hashtag Zinda Banda Ho To Aisa. Now, this is the tweet that came out, and to this, the Badshah of Bollywood too has replied saying that life is so short and fast, sir, just trying to keep up and entertain as many as possible. Now, since the release of the song on Monday, the song has gone viral and bagged about 41 million views on YouTube. Let's tell you all you need to be looking out for today. Well, among the key earnings that we are in the thick of the earnings season. You should be watching out for Bharti Airtel, there's Eicher Motors, Dabur as well as Sun Pharma that will be declaring their Q1 results. So you can be looking out for those numbers. Whereas on the government front, on the politics side, you're going to see the government likely to pass the Delhi Ordinance Bill in the Lok Sabha today. The government is also looking to have listed that data protection bill, which has pretty much upset many opposition parties who had walked away from the parliamentary committee meeting that was held recently to ascertain this and whether to bring up this data protection bill. So if that is something that comes up in Parliament, you need to be watching out for. And for all the actions in the courtroom, the Allahabad High Court will be pronouncing its verdict on the Gyanvapi ASI survey case. So that is something that has also stirred up quite a lot. So these are things that you need to be looking out for. But for now, this is a wrap on this dose of Newspresso. Hope it was useful and informative and gave you that kickstart to your day. But don't forget to come back, same place, same time tomorrow, because we'll be here with your fresh shot of Newspresso. From all of us that put this show together, thanks so much for tuning in.